So these packets of rule books are originally wrapped in one piece of plastic, clear plastic, but it comes with this little ribbon to make it easier to pull it out. And you do need it because if you look, there's very little room. You can get one out, but getting the whole bundle out without it. So remember, when you put them back in, make sure you leave this hanging out so you can get them out, or it's kind of a pain and kind of mangle them. You'll see some of the still photos lay out all 8 of the books on the table. I'm not going to do that now since I've already have that for the photos. And so the original, the first 3 books that came out to start the game were Men and Magic, Monsters and Treasure, and The Underworld and Wilderness Adventures. I also happen, and so some of the others are Greyhawk for book 4, Blackmoor, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a minute, Eldritch Wizardry for book 6, Gods, Demigods, and Heroes, and then a reference sheet. These are not character sheets, by the way. I did not find any character sheets. These are basically your combat and other charts, character making, character generation, etc. All summed up here, which is necessary because the organization's not the greatest in these books because it's their first draft, and they certainly came a long way when they came out with AD&D and such. Now, talking about Blackmoor, so they have it listed here as book 5, but in the older version it was supplement 2. They separated the supplements from the original. So I have a 9th printing version of Blackmoor here. It says 1975, 9th printing November 1979. And see that? I'm sorry, it's stained, but I got this for about $5 or $6 at a hobby store in Sugar House, Salt Lake City, Utah area, back in 81, 82, 83, somewhere around there. And I've had it all this time. And I actually use, there's one portion I've used recently here for 3rd edition for combat, which is the hit location percentile. Our group's kind of enjoyed that, and it includes like avian combat and different types of creatures, wings and above and below, etc. So it's a way to plug in hit location into the existing D20. And you'll notice the artwork's different. I haven't looked yet to see if maybe this is the more original artwork for the first printing and they changed it maybe in the 9th printing. I'm not sure. But of course you'll see this has the TSR logo. They don't have that here. They do have the Wizards logo on the back. And it's basically the same. This says additional, it says supplement 2, whereas this says book 5 and it doesn't have that. But they're roughly the same. They try to make the fonts roughly the same. And on the inside, so you see the Wizards versus the different information. Font size here is quite a bit larger than here, but basically the same information. We get to the forward. Basically the same. They try to keep the font similar, but there are differences. Again, I don't have the very first printing to compare them going on 9th printing. And then when we get to the index, you can see that they tried to replicate the font, but there's definitely, you know, between the computer-based and the old typeset, there's definitely a noticeable difference, but nothing to complain about. And the content is basically the same page for page. They try to keep it the same per page, and even the same old artwork on the inside at least. So you see that. I'm just randomly flipping through. And then the back, let me get to there. Same thing. We have a section for notes, as we do here. But you notice that's where it ends on there, whereas this that had a little bit for advertising in the older version. Other fantasy releases by TSR. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of a comparison between the old and the new. I think they did a nice job of replicating that. Now, an interesting thing, just in reading through the beginning of the rules of the first book, Men and Magic, some interesting things that are noted. A, there's only 3 classes. You have your fighting men, your magic users, and your clerics. And that's it for classes, at least starting out. Then, of course, as you add the booklet, you can add more options. And then they have humans, dwarves, elves, halflings. And I'm curious, I wish I had a version to see if it said hobbits originally or not. And other character types, and it encourages the freedom of making up your own thing. Character alignment is only law, neutrality, and chaos. There's not good and evil. So it's kind of a Moorcock, Elric style there. And information abilities, basically the same. Explanation, roughly the same. The bonuses are not very organized. They kind of lump them all together for what you get for the different ones. So we have prime requisite, get bonuses for experience or not, constitution, dexterity, all kind of lumped together. And they go in length about non-player characters, equipment, etc. One thing that really caught my notice was the ratio for gamers and referee. So ages level 12 years and up, number of players, at least 1 referee, and from 4 to 50, as in 50 players, can be handled in any single campaign. But the referees to player ratio should be about 1 to 20 or thereabouts. Not 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to 20. So very much their wargaming background there. So I found that very interesting, gave me a bit of a chuckle. So I'm going to, if you'd like, that's pretty much the unboxing stage. I'm going to read the opening portion here for those who are interested. Because there's some interesting comments in here. So I'm going to start with the foreword. And that's this very first page here. Read that to you. And then continue with the introduction. So this is a little lengthier part, and you're welcome to skip the rest if you wish.